The video you are about to see is a dry run of a poker run that we plan on hosting on June 3rd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The poker run will consist of 3 to 4 stops and then we'll return back to the dealership to complete the poker run. We hope to see you out on June 3rd, 2023. So as for now, just hang out with us for a minute.
What's up, YouTube? It's Chris from Chris Glides and Lowrides. We out here in Fort Washington today, hanging out. Man, it's my man right here. Tell him about yourself, Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
So Action, part of the greatest fraternity in the whole wide world, Kappa Psi.
Yeah, that's us right here.
Incorporated.
All right.
And we're out here, we're hanging out with Chris. Finally, we get a chance to chop it up together, and this is beginning of something wonderful, something great, and we're going to put some miles down together, and we're also going to do some C8 stuff together as well.
That's right. C8s and Harleys. All right, brother. All right. So I'm just out here today. Got the H.O.G members. Got some guys out here hanging out from Rare Breed. And we're about to just go on some rides today, guys. So just hang out with us. Out here, my man, Wild Bill. Y'all seen him before. All right, y'all ready to do this?
Get it, man.
Man, you hooked this thing up, man.
Yeah.
I see you got a new seat.
So it packs so I can get my pizza.
Man, you must have had this thing sitting in the living room or something, man. It wasn't this clean last time. It wasn't as clean last time, man. Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna go. We're about to ride this route. The H.O.G chapter is sponsoring a poker run on June 3rd, and we're about to practice the route and go check it out, so we'll have it nice and ready for y'all. So stay tuned for that poker ride from the Fort Washington H.O.G chapter. I'll see you, man. All right, Mike.
Be good, man.
All right, now. All right.
So as we begin to take off on this ride, I didn't realize that we were going to spend about 4 to 5 hours riding today, which is perfectly fine. Some of the stops that we were going to stop at, I found out were pretty interesting, and I didn't know much of the history. So during this ride, we're actually going to stop at Marshall Hall, Smallwood Park, Port Tobacco Village, and then we stopped off lastly at Miller Farm. So the first stop that we went to was Marshall Hall, Maryland. It's the site of the Marshall family mansion and is now part of Piscataway Park, operated by the Park Service. Some history about it is that Marshall Hall was located, or is currently located, off of Bryan's Road in Charles County, Maryland, next to the Potomac River, or more or less across from Mount Vernon, Virginia, which was the home of George Washington. The home was one of the finest built in the Maryland shores off the Potomac River in the 18th century. Now, the Marshall family themselves, they were of high stature and they owned as many as 80 slaves by the early 19th century. But soon after the Civil War, the site became a highly frequented picnic ground because of its proximity to Mount Vernon. This location would then have steamship lines, which originally carried tourists from like Washington, D.C., Alexandria, Mount Vernon, and this became a new source of revenue. They had the Potomac riverboat tours and things like that. It was a location where they would charge like $1 for these round trip fares. And that's some of the things that they do now at the National Harbor. They have these water taxis. But the $1 included admissions into Mount Vernon. And it was just another way of Washingtonians to flee the summer heat in the city with all sorts of things and entertainment from the grounds themselves. This location was extremely popular around 1878 as it housed all types of different events. They did swimming exhibitions and all types of things. They had one of the famous daredevils, Robert Odlum, who was there the summer of 1878, years before his death at the Brooklyn Bridge. Marshall Hall then became one of the popular amusement parks in the DC area around the 1890s, offering all types of different entertainment. They even had jousting there, they had roller coasters, they had Ferris wheels, all types of things. So along with these jousting tournaments, they had several new attractions that started throughout the 20th century. They became a popular spot for gambling, which was a major draw after World War II. So between 1949 and 1968, the Southern Maryland area offered the only legal slot machines in the United States outside Nevada. Following a lot of events that occurred here, the National Park Service gained control of the park after Congress, acting upon a request from the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, mandated that the view from Mount Vernon be protected and returned to something that resembled the days of George Washington when he sat on his colonial porch and looked across the Potomac River. This term then became known as historical viewshed. And the term historical viewshed was coined for this act of preservation. Park Service tore down all the vestiges for the amusement park in 1980, and the popularity declined based upon competition from like larger amusement parks. Then at some point, a fire destroyed much of the Colonial House soon after, and in January 2003, a truck driver slammed into the remaining of the property, which was part of the mansion, and then the damage from that destroyed much of the brick, and it was repaired the following years to come, but mostly now when you visit the park or the area, all you see is the ruins that remain. You no longer see like any remnants of the amusement parks, as one of the roller coasters was destroyed in a storm that occurred on July 7th, 1977. That's crazy, 7/7/77. So that storm pretty much blew away the roller coaster, and the severe storm like 40 years ago is just crazy. So at the site, there's the ruins, and then there's the family cemetery that remain, and that's pretty much it. And now it's just a location for people to just get out, park, and enjoy the water and the scenery.
All right, YouTube. So our first stop, we stopped at Marshall Hall Boat Launch, and it's located in Charles County, Maryland. It is about 20 to 30 minutes from the Fort Washington Harley-Davidson dealership that we just came from. And we're just testing out routes and things like that so we can get together our poker run ride, which should be really nice in June. So here at the boat launch at Marshall Hall, it's a nice area to come out and maybe park from the distance and then walk, especially like on the 4th of July, something like that. You can see the fireworks like right across from the Potomac River. So that'd be really nice. As you can see. This is the Potomac River. And just across the water is Virginia. Those houses over there, it's nice. People out on their sailboats, things like that. I think I'm trying to get my directions together, figure out where I am. I was thinking that across the water over there was Mount Vernon somewhere, but we might be past it from this side, unless it's right there. I'm not sure. Nice ride. Marshall Hall, Maryland. That's where we at.
get back down to here. That's what's going. But if you can, man, we can come on. What do you do? We need to do it. First stop. This will be the first stop. This will be the first stop. And the benefit of it, you just not gonna sweat no.
So our next stop is Smallwood State Park. It's about 13.5 miles from Marshall Hall, and it's about 18 minutes away. It's located in Marbury, Maryland. Smallwood State Park is a public recreation and historical preservation area. It's located in Mattawoman Creek near Marbury, which is in Charles County, Maryland. The state park preserves Smallwood Retreat, the plantation home of former Continental Army officer, Governor of Maryland, Major General William Smallwood. After a succession of occupants left the Smallwood Retreat in ruins, a local citizens group organized in 1934 to see to its protection, restored and took place of it between 1954 and the dedication of the original 30-acre state park in 1958. The park's 984 acres includes a marina, boat ramps, picnicking facilities, campsites, cabins, trails, and a nature center. Many people come here to do fishing, and while we're there, we witnessed people returning from a bass tournament. William Smallwood lived from 1732 to February 14th, 1792. He was a soldier and a politician from Charles County, Maryland. He served in the American Revolutionary Army, rising from the rank of Major General. He was serving as the 4th governor of Maryland when the state adopted the United States Constitution. Smallwood never married. The 1790 census showed that he held 56 slaves and a yearly tobacco crop of 3,000 pounds. When he died in 1792, his estate, known as Mattawoman, including his home, the retreat, passed to his sister Eleanor, who married Colonel William Grayson of Virginia. Okay, so on this stop, we're at Smallwood State Park, and it's another marina, and it's beautiful out here. I'll turn the camera around so y'all can see. It looks like we have a fishing tournament going on, and a bunch of guys out on their boats fishing, most likely a bass tournament. And I love those. These guys are out here having fun. I always say guys, but I mean people in a general sense. There's Judy. There's some of the other guys. So we're out here on the bikes, just gliding and checking out some of the stops. And this is a beautiful one right here. I've never been here before. The park looks amazing. On here. Look at that bass this guy just caught. Nice day. It's a little chilly, but it's beautiful. Not too hot. You know, good scenery. They caught some beautiful ones there. It's just a beautiful marina here. There's a general store. What do you guys think? Should I trade in the bike and just sell the bikes and get me a boat? I think so.
Hey, how's it going?
Park out here. This is also in Charles County, Maryland. Smallwood Park. And these are some of the invasive catfish that we have here in Chesapeake Bay. And it's beautiful. Fisherman's dream. The store is closed. This. Hey, how come you Harley guys aren't fishing?
Well, because it only takes $15 to fill my Harley tank up. $150 to fill my boat.
This is just a suggestion. I say that we sell the bikes and then we start a boat club. Come on, man. Man, look.
Go from my house down to Point Lookout and back.
All right, so
Man, I'm serious. Like trout, just taking the boat. 'Cause I mean, that's like one of these.
the price of that gold wing.
Put it like this. This is motor on that boat right there. That's 25 and looking at it.
That's for that Mercury motor you said? Man, look, we take one of the motors out of the Harley and put that on the back of that boat and it'll run just good.
You got enough. That's not hard to have a Mercury engine.
Hey, yeah, right. Man, hey, if y'all my Gold Wing subscribers, man, don't pay these guys no attention. All right.
As we leave Smallwood State Park, we continue on to go to Port Tobacco. Port Tobacco was a short 10-mile ride and it took us about 14 minutes to get there. Port Tobacco is known for many different things. One popular story is a conspiracy and the plot to assassinate President Lincoln. Port Tobacco was the home and place of business for George Azerrad. Although he failed to murder Vice President Andrew Johnson, he was convicted and executed for his role in the plot to assassinate President Abraham Lincoln. Part of the plot, when it was supposed to be the abduction of the president to Richmond, was hatched in Port Tobacco, possibly at Azerrad's carrot shop or his home, neither of which has been yet to be located. The Smoot Hotel or at the St. Charles Hotel, Azerrad testified that conspirators John Surratt and John Wilkes Booth came to Port Tobacco several times. Local Union Army units scoured the countryside in search of assassinations for several hectic days in April 1865. Some of those units were stationed in and around Port Tobacco. Archaeological investigations at one nearby camp produced discharged ammunition, horseshoes, and personal and uniform items belonging to the soldiers. So before I go further down that rabbit hole, let's talk about Port Tobacco, which is officially Port Tobacco Village. It's a town in Charles County, Maryland. The population was about 13 in the 2010 census, making Port Tobacco the smallest incorporated town in Maryland. Port Tobacco was settled by the English in the 17th century and established in 1727. The town on the Port Tobacco River soon became the second largest in Maryland. The first county seat of Charles County, it was a seaport with access to Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. Port Tobacco declined rapidly after the river traffic was cut off by silting and the town was bypassed by railroads. The town was incorporated in 1888, but in 1895, the county seat moved to nearby La Plata, Maryland, which drew population away, but left the town with its historic significance intact. Since the late 20th century, the former 1819 courthouse has been renovated for use as a historical museum, and in 2007, a consortium started the Port Tobacco Archaeological Project devoted to revealing the historical history of Native Americans, colonial Europeans, and Africans. Because of its unique history, this area is one of the richest archaeological sites in southern Maryland. During the Civil War, Port Tobacco became known as the stronghold of Confederate sympathizers. Although Union troops occupied the town, Rose O'Neal Greenhow, born here, became renowned as the Confederate spy operating in Washington, D.C., recruited by former Union Army Captain Thomas Jordan. Rose O'Neal Greenhow was credited with ensuring their victory of the First Battle of the Bull Run in July 1861. Local slaves were freed following Maryland's adoption of the new Constitution on November 1st, 1864. The Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 did not apply to states which remained in the Union. During the hunt for John Wilkes Booth, after the assassination of President Lincoln, intelligence gathered in Port Tobacco Hotel, also known as the Bronner Hotel, where conspirator George Azerrad lived in town. They established the assassin had fled with his companion Harold into Virginia, where they were ultimately located and Harold surrendered, but Booth died during the attempted capture. As we pull into Port Tobacco Village, there'll be a sign that reads Port Tobacco. In the center of this Confederate activity at the Bronner Hotel, Detective Captain William Williams unsuccessfully offered Thomas Jones $100,000 reward for information that would lead to the capture of John Wilkes Booth.
So this stop right here is Port Tobacco, and I'll stop so you can just read this sign here for this one location. So it's pretty nice. You can just stop and read and see a lot of historic things. Here's an old-fashioned well. That is the courthouse and museum back there. So I'm gonna take a walk over here and see what's over here. The tour for Port Tobacco actually begins this way, and it takes you through a historic village at the Stag Hall. So let me turn the camera around, and you can see right there. So some great places to stop, great places to ride here in Maryland. So come join us on June the 3rd. This is what a group of road captains will do when we get together. Talk about the different routes that we're going to take, plan out a trip to get you the best route planning. However,
There are some great apps out there that'll do that. And I'm looking at a sign. I'm looking at something. It looks like a headstone or something. Let's see. Oh man, it was a Masonic Lodge here. 1770, original site of St. Columbia Masonic Lodge. As we continue on our adventure, our next stop is Miller Farm. Miller Farm is located approximately 19.5 miles away, and it will take us 31 minutes to get there. Miller Farm is a 267-acre farm located in Prince George's County, Maryland, that has been a family-owned operation since 1879. They sustainably grow a wide variety of fresh fruits and crispy vegetables. In addition to their farm and market, they have a bakery full of delicious home-baked goods and handmade ice cream. They have a nursery abundant with beautiful plants and flowers. They have barbecue, seasonal displays, fall family fun, and so much more. Established in 1840, Miller Farm has been owned by the Miller family for over 170 years.
And it's this little jacket right here. And all toes are frozen. All right, so we're at the last stop, and this is Miller Farm, and it's right off Piscataway Road. And you can see we got tractors out here and farmland. And it's a marketplace for people to eat and enjoy. And so that's what we're exactly about to do, is go in and eat and enjoy. So let's see, let's go. Miller Farms was the last stop of the day. After that, we will ride another 5 miles, which will be 11 minutes, back to Harley-Davidson of Washington. At the dealership, we will complete the activities for the poker run and continue on having a good time at the dealership. The Harley Owners Group of Fort Washington invites you out on June 3rd, 2023 to have a fun time. The event is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. and to end at 3 p.m. However, we will have an alternate rain day. This video is just a preview of fun that we'll plan on having that day, but more solid details regarding this event will be forthcoming. So as I always say, stay tuned. Thank you for watching this video, and thanks for hanging out with Chris Glides and Low Rides.